A blockbuster trade happened in the NFL, and that is Odell Beckham Jr. being traded to the Cleveland Browns. Um, you know, Giants trade Beckham. They get the Browns' first-round pick this year, 2007. 17th overall, a third-round selection, 95th overall, and safety Jabril Peppers, who was a first-round pick in 2017. Many thoughts on this trade. The Giants, they saw Antonio Brown Part 2 coming out and dumped him. And now he is no longer the Giants' problem. He is Cleveland's problem. Every other week, it's Odell Beckham in the net. Odell Beckham refusing to drink water. Odell Beckham out on a boat. Everything was about Odell Beckham. They just got tired of dealing with the Odell Beckham drama. Now, the other thing that you have to factor in too, which I think no one really mentions, is he's constantly injured. He's been constantly injured last couple of years. 9 touchdowns total last 2 seasons. And complete no-show in the biggest game of his career. That was probably the Green Bay game, if it's safe to say. Now, you might say to me, well, you might say, listen, think of it this way. You might say, listen, it's a total shock. On the other side of it, he's a Hall of Fame type of player. Eliminated your downfield game and allowed defenses to stuff the box against Saquon. And for the first time in years, Cleveland's picks are at 17 instead of top of the draft. His teammates love him, right? Teammates don't complain about him. But I'll tell you this, it just seemed like Odell Beckham was a little loopy. It seemed to me that often at times Beckham was just a malcontent, really didn't want to be here. A little bit off center, lives a little bit on his own planet. But I'm going to tell you, I love it. It was the right move for a team who has so many holes. Little cap, 11 million left, and are rebuilding from the mistakes made from the last GM. Beckham was their only chip left, so to speak, to get picks to start this rebuild. And personally, I think Barkley, though running backs have a lower shelf life as far as validity, and you wonder how much the best years of Saquon Barkley, and now it seems to be in a rebuild. You're wasting all those prime years, but he is the better player to build around. Now you're saying that he really hasn't lit it up in free agency and Gettleman. But don't act as if they had $100 million to play with. Solder was their one and only main agent, with the rest having to kind of fall to them in order to sign. Outside of wasting a pick on a quarterback, his draft pick showed up pretty well last season. That's where the build has to take shape. Now he has 2 number 1s. Now, you said they should have gotten rid of the $30 million quarterback. But then where do you go? All you would do is save $11 million in the end, and you have no quarterback. You have little to spend on free agents. You still have all the holes on defense. You have the 6th pick, and maybe you could use it on the quarterback. But teams are now well aware of your decision, and two teams trade up past you to get the big 2 quarterbacks. Now what? That's viable. That could happen. At the current state, the Giants were not going to win with Beckham on the team, nor do they have enough pieces to kind of rebuild to bring back winning. Yes, I understand some fans don't mind a 5-11 season as long as Odell Beckham is out there catching one-handed balls doing warm-ups. Good news is he's on the Browns. He's still in the NFL and you can follow him. You know, think of it. You know, think of it too. You know, this is a move that you have to have done. Your defense has a ton of holes right now after Vernon and Collins are gone. Losing Apple and Snacks last year. You know, Snacks was probably really the only one I wish they could take back. Collins couldn't get franchised for 2 reasons. He already talked about how he wanted a contract and wouldn't play under the tag. And the Giants only had $12 million in cap space after you take out the $11 million needed to sign the draft picks. They had to overpay for Solder. You know, I can't attack Gettleman for that one. They were desperate. But that bad defense is the reason why they had to make the trade. They now have 12 overall draft picks. 2 number 1s, 6 picks in the first 4 rounds. If Gettleman strikes the same as he did last year outside of Loretta, it could benefit this team greatly going forward. Then you look to next season where the Giants will have 2 years of draft putting together a young team. They will nearly expect to have $100 million in cap space with Eli and Beckham and others coming off the books. They have to eat 16 of his $24 million for the Beckham this year due to bonuses. But it goes to 0 next year, and I believe according to the cap websites. So by the end of year 3, Giants will have 3 years of draft picks and a year being able to spend in free agency. So these 2 years are going to be make or break. And they don't have to deal with the ego receiver doing ESPN interviews, knocking the team with a Little Wayne. I hope all is well.